Hello everybody, my name is Erica and welcome back to my channel, Ginger Books. So today I have a different backdrop. I'm at work. And what better place to do my October wrap up than the museum? Because all I read in the month of October was historical fiction novels. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So today I'm only bringing you, and you already kind of know what series I'm going to talk about from my book talks, but the only series I really read in the month of October was the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. Starting with our first book is Stalking Jack the Ripper. This is the first installment of Kerri Maniscalco's Stalking Jack the Ripper series. This book takes place in Cheerio, London in 1888, and it kind of blends into 1889 with Audrey Rose, our main character, who is part of the elite society in London because of her father, and also because of her mother, because supposedly her grandmother is also kind of part of the elite, even though she is Indian and from the Middle East. But you start off by meeting Audrey Rose and discovering her love for the forensic sciences, and it was sparked by her uncle Jonathan, her father's brother, who studies cadavers and tries to help solve murder cases in a very taboo way. It's quite fascinating to see a woman in the 1880s in Victorian society wanting to research something like this. However, along the way, she meets Thomas Cresswell, who is our male protagonist in this series, and he is also studying and apprenticing under her uncle Jonathan. What is going on in London? Hence the title. Killings are starting to show up with bodies literally mutilated, missing parts, and finding these like nuts and bolt parts in the body. It is Thomas Cresswell's, Audrey Rose's, and Uncle Jonathan's job to figure out what is going on in Cheerio, London. So that's where the series starts, and it is just such a captivating first book. It is a little slow at the beginning, I will admit, but it just captivated me. I love the characters. Audrey is such a wonderful female character, lead character, to even strive for, of going for your dreams when society pretty much tells you no. Thomas Cresswell is probably one of the most changed characters I've ever seen throughout this series. You meet him in Stalking Jack the Ripper, a very cold, calculated character, and the plot. I cannot get over the plot and the twist you get at the end of this book. Oh, my heartstrings. You have to read it to find out, because I'm not going to say anymore. Oh, of course, continuing on this series, I also read the second installment, Hunting Prince Dracula, where at the end of the book, after having the devastating news of finding out who Stalking Jack the Ripper is, who Jack the Ripper is, Audrey is whisked away by Thomas Cresswell to a forensic science school in Brahms Castle. You heard? They're in Romania, so Vlad Dracula territory. In this installment, you follow the wonderful adventures that they have in Romania because the killings have not stopped there. Somebody is killing people and impersonating Vlad Dracula. We're either in the Dracula myth of Bram Stoker at this point, and they need to determine who it is because everybody's pointing their fingers at Dracula family, or the imposter Dracula family you find out in this. Another wonderful story, and of course, Audrey and Thomas Audrey starts falling more for Thomas in this book, and it's wonderful to see. And you meet some very fun side characters along the way. And it's just Audrey trying to prove herself while also coming to grasp of the shocking news you find out at the end of the first book. She's just such a well character, and she develops more here along with Thomas. The plot, by far this is probably my favorite sequel because of the plot and the twists and turns Kerri Maniscalco caused, and the way the characters react and the way the characters developed it because of it. Wonderful, wonderful. And historical fiction wise, it was fun to read because I love the myths and legends surrounding Vlad the Impaler, or Vlad Dracula, and Bram Stoker's legendary character, Dracula. So, it was very fascinating to see. On to the third one. Escaping from Houdini by Kerri Maniscalco is the third installment of this series. Audrey, Thomas, and Uncle Jonathan are summoned to America to research these killings that have been happening in America. And so they hop along the RMS Euteria, which is actually a real ship back in, sorry, that scared me. That was the furnace that started, where was I? They hopped along the cruise ship in RMS Euteria to sail over to America. And this beautiful moonlight carnival is supposed to be kind of like their evening show and entertainment. However, just even on the first night alone on the ship, killings start to happen and people start pointing the fingers and suspicions towards the Moonlight Carnival, and you meet the mysterious Mephistopheles, who is the ringleader of this circus. This book and I kind of have a love-hate relationship because Audrey's character develops so much more than it did in the first two novels in this, and she has a plan throughout this whole thing, but it was too predictable. In Hunting Prince Dracula and Stalking Jack the Ripper, I didn't know anything. Like, I had speculations of who the people were, but they always turned out, like, 110% wrong. Like, total 180, and took me by surprise. But Escaping from Houdini did not surprise me at all. It did not have that wow factor like the second book had for a sequel. So that's the reason why I gave this book 3.5 stars, because the plot did not have that wow. It still had its twists and turns and everything, but it was a little disappointing. So, I love this book, but then I also hate it. I loved that Audrey and Thomas grew closer in this book, to the point something happens at the end of the book that seals their love. But I'm not giving it away. Now you want to read it, don't you? However, the series doesn't stop there, because the final installment that came out last month is Capturing the Devil by Kerri Maniscalco. And if you want to know my opinion on this book, you can also go watch my book talk, but this redeemed itself from the third book when it comes to plot. At the beginning of the book, it had me so happy, then so upset, and then so happy, and then extremely upset what happens in the first half, because now they're in New York. Audrey, Thomas, and her Uncle Jonathan are in New York, and we get to meet Audrey's grandmama, which is her mother's mother, who is from India. And I loved the foreshadowing that I see after reading this book of what Audrey's grandmama did for her, but it still did not lessen the blow any less of what happens in the first half of the book, because the first half they're in New York when they discover that there was two Jack the Rippers, or the person they thought who was Jack the Ripper is actually not Jack the Ripper. They find the trail leads to Chicago. So in the second half of the book, you're in Chicago, and this legendary serial killer shows up towards the end of the book, and this famous lead and theory of who Jack the Ripper was comes to play, and it just makes for such a wonderful ending to the series. And in the author's notes, every author's note, Kerri Maniscalco explains where she gets her historical elements from and how she kind of changed it to a fictional story. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Somebody was knocking on the door from the board. Happens sometimes when you're trying to do things. Maybe I shouldn't film here. Anywho, what was I talking about? Oh, Capturing the Devil. That's what I was talking about. But this book was such a great ending, but I also don't want this series to end. I have fallen in love with Audrey and Thomas and all of their adventures, and Kerri Maniscalco's wonderful world of writing in Victorian age and bringing this fictional story to life in history and using historical figures. Round of applause for Kerri Maniscalco. This has become my #1 all-time favorite series to ever read. Sorry, Cassandra Clare, my reigning champ, but you have been dethroned and put as #2. And as I said, this will probably be my top favorite series for this year. I don't know what more to say about this series, because I have grown so attached to this series, and I really want to reread it right now, but I have a lot of books to read. Booktuber struggles. Anywho, so I kind of want to discuss my TBR for kind of the next month and a half, and I already kind of explained this in my reading vlog that I put out every Monday, but I am reading the Harry Potter series for the first time because I finally just need to sit down and read it. I have all of the books now on paperback, and yeah, it is time. And I figured, I don't know why, Harry Potter has always been like a thing for me around Thanksgiving. Like, I want to watch the movies along with Christmas movies. People are going to come at me at the comments for that because I skipped Turkey Day. I'm not a big fan of turkey. Sorry. Yeah, so I'm reading the Harry Potter series, and right now I am close to halfway through the first book. And technically the first book I have read before, so this is like a reread for me. I think I've read up to the third book, so the first two are going to be a reread for me. But I'm excited to dive into the wonderful world of Harry Potter and Hogwarts. I have released on my reading vlog what house I'm in. I am in Slytherin. But anywho, without further ado, I am going to end this video right here, and I hope you enjoyed my October wrap-up and me kind of gushing about, again, the Stalking Jack the Ripper series, which you're probably never not gonna hear me talk about it. So I apologize in advance for that. The next video that will be coming out is my reading vlog, and I have some exciting ideas for videos later on in the month, so definitely stay tuned. So hit that like button and subscribe to my channel and click that bell notification if you want to be notified of these wonderful brainstormed idea videos that are coming up next. So without further ado, thank you for watching, and always have a happy day.